was born on July 24th, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. Back then, girls were supposed to wear long dresses and play with dolls. But I liked to wear baggy pants, ride horses, and jump fences. I spent a lot of time playing with my sister Muriel. We loved to collect insects and frogs and play sports like basketball and football. I built a roller coaster in my backyard when I was 7 years old. When I tried it I skidded off the track and it felt like I was flying. I loved it. When I finished high school, I planned on becoming a nurse's aide and then dropped out to becoming a mechanic. I went to my first air show and took a ride on a plane. As soon as the plane took off, I knew I had to fly. I got my pilot license and became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean. I became a hero. Even though I was the most famous pilot in the world, that didn't stop me from wanting to do more. On July 2nd, 1937, I took off to fly across the Pacific. My plane disappeared and I was never seen again. Who am I?
I was born June 5th, 1912 in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. When I got married, I lived in a small apartment in the Bronx. My husband was a driller, but he loved animals, so I encouraged him to quit his job and become a zookeeper at the Bronx Zoo. As a young woman, my husband and I longed for a baby, but we were not able to have one. One day, my husband came home with a lion cub and said the mother did not want to take care of it, so I did what I had to do. I named the cub MacArthur. I fed him bottles and cared for him daily. I took such good care of him, he was taken to a zoo far away when he was 2 months old. I was very sad. Next, the zoo asked me to take care of a litter of 3 cubs. Again, I saved their lives and they returned to the zoo when they were 3 months old. I named them Donka, Rajpur, and Raniganj. I wanted to continue to care for the cubs, so I found an empty room in the lion house and turned it into a nursery. In 1944, I was officially hired as the first and only woman zookeeper. Who am I?
I was born on March 17, 1972 in Selma, Alabama. I was born with a cough. I had to wear a cast to correct it. I was very shy as a young girl in sports. Helped me express myself. I loved playing all sports, but the one I was best at was soccer. When I was 15, I became the youngest player to ever join the women's U.S. national soccer team. At 19 years old, I became a soccer star. I helped the team win a World Cup championship. We continued our winning streak and won 2 Olympic gold medals, another World Cup championship, and an Olympic silver medal. I went to college at the University of North Carolina, where I played soccer for 4 years. We won championships each year. I played a total of 95 games, and we only lost 1. I have 2 daughters and 1 son. My daughters are also involved in soccer now. I'm retired from professional soccer now, but I am still very involved in the world of soccer. Who am I?
I was born on November 3rd, 1949 in London, England. I became interested in fashion as a young teenager. When I was in school, I would try to make the uniform more fashionable by shortening the skirt. At 16 years old, I stopped going to school and started a career in fashion. In 1988, I became editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine. I love to support young fashion designers and have helped many become famous. You may have seen me in the news lately because I oversaw the Met Gala. You might recognize me for wearing my dark sunglasses. I am the most powerful woman in fashion. Who am I?
I was born in 69 BC as a princess of Egypt. My father was Pharaoh Ptolemy XII, and I was his favorite child because I was so smart. My family ruled Egypt for 300 years, but we were of Greek descent. I grew up speaking Greek, but learned many other languages, including Egyptian and Latin. When I was 18 years old, my father died and left the throne to me and my younger brother. I was older and quickly took control as the main ruler of Egypt. When my brother got older, he wanted more control, so he forced me out and became Pharaoh. In 48 BC, I went to Julius Caesar and asked for his help. And Caesar defeated Ptolemy's army and won back the throne for me. I was a popular Egyptian ruler because I loved the Egyptian culture and the country was successful while I was in power. My death is a mystery, but some people believe that I was poisoned. I was the last pharaoh of Egypt. Who am I?
I was born on November 12th, 1961 in Romania. As a child, my mom enrolled me in gymnastics classes because I was so full of energy and active that I was difficult to manage. I was discovered by the Romanian gymnastics coach when I was just 6 years old. In 1976, when I was just 14 years old, I competed in the Montreal Olympics and changed the sport of women's gymnastics forever. I was the first gymnast to be awarded a perfect score of 10 at the Olympic Games. I was the first Romanian gymnast to win the Olympic all-around title. I was also the youngest ever Olympic gymnastics all-around champion at 14 years old. I went to earn more perfect 10 scores and 9 Olympic medals in my career as a gymnast. Who am I?
I grew up in France where I learned to read and write. I moved to Paris when I was 18 years old. I became a famous dressmaker. That's not what I'm known for. In 1818, I married a merchant named James Power, and we moved to Sicily. I became interested in learning about marine animals and nature. I became a marine scientist. I invented the first aquarium to observe animals. I also discovered that the paper nautilus made its shell rather than stealing other animals' shell. I was the very first female member of the Guyanese Academy of Natural Sciences in Italy. I died on January 26, 1871 in France. Who am I?
I was born on January 22nd, 2002 in Des Moines, Iowa. I have 2 brothers and I'm the middle child. I love playing sports, especially basketball. When I was younger, my brothers taught me how to play basketball. I attended Darrowling Catholic High School and ranked up to 2,547 career points. Then I went to the University of Iowa where I played for the Hawkeye basketball team. I am known for my 3-point shooting and skills on the court. In 2023 and 2024, I helped my team get to the NCAA championships. I became the leading scorer in the NCAA basketball history. On April 15th, I was the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, and I was chosen by the Indiana Fever to join their team. Who am I?
I was born November 7th, 1867 in Warsaw, Poland. I had 3 sisters and 1 brother. Both of my parents were school teachers. I was only 8 years old when my sister died. I moved to Paris, France in 1891. I studied math and physics. I was the best student in my class. I married a scientist named Pierre. Pierre and I worked together in a lab. I had 2 daughters, Irene and Eve. I left to study math and science. I discovered 2 new elements. I named one polonium and the other radium. I discovered that radium gave off a strange greenish glow. I made huge improvements to finding cancer treatments. I became famous for our discoveries and experiments. I won 2 Nobel Peace Prizes. No woman had won this prize before. I died on July 4th, 1934. Who am I?
I was born on March 14, 1997 in Columbus, Ohio. I was adopted by my grandparents when I was 4 years old and I moved to Texas. I was noticed by a gymnastics coach for my strong and fast, fearless attitude. I was invited to practice at the gym and spent hours there daily. In 2013, I became the first Black woman to win all-around at the World Championships. I am known for my difficult routines and daring moves. I'm considered one of the world's best athletes. I have won more medals than any other U.S. gymnast. I also won the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2022. I am 27 years old and still competing in gymnastics today. Who am I?
I was born on August 15th, 1912 in Pasadena, California. I graduated from Smith College in 1934 and tried joining the U.S. Navy. I was turned down because I was too tall, but I started working for the OSS instead, and I was asked to come up with a shark deterrent for the divers. I was successful of making a shark pie that smelled like dead sharks, but it kept them away. This is when I started to become interested in cooking. After I got married, my husband and I moved to Paris, where I attended the Cordon Bleu cooking school and studied privately with a famous chef named Max Bonnegarde. I met two French women named Simone Beck and Louette Berthold. Together, we wrote a French cookbook that became very popular. I started in 8 television shows and published 11 cookbooks. My famous television kitchen is in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. I was the first woman to enter the Culinary Institute of America's Hall of Fame. Who am I?
I was born on December 31st, 1995, in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I had 2 older sisters and 1 older brother. My sister helped me learn gymnastics, and by the time I was 4 years old, I was doing one-handed cartwheels. My mom signed me up for classes when I was 6. When I was 14 years old, I left my family and moved to Iowa to train full-time with a gymnastics coach. In 2011, I competed in the national championships. I spun around the bars and won 3rd place. My team won the gold in the world championships that year. I continued to practice and work hard. In 2012, I became the first American to win Olympics gold medals in the team and all around the individual events, and the first African American to win all around the world title in the Olympics. Who am I?
I was born on April 3rd, 1934 in London, England. As a young child, I loved animals. One day, I hid in the chicken coop for 5 hours to see how they lay eggs. My dad gave me a stuffed animal chimpanzee that I loved and took everywhere with me. When I finished high school, I got a job to save money so that I could take a trip to Africa. I wanted to go there to study all of the animals, but especially chimps. It took a long time for me to research them. I spent a lot of my time sitting and watching them from far away. Eventually, the chimps began to trust me and came closer to me. I gave each one a name. David Graybeard was the first chimp that came near me. For 2 years, I lived with the chimpanzee troop and experienced their day-to-day life. I spent most of my later life protecting chimps and preserving their habitats. I wrote many books about my environmental work and won many awards for my environmental work. Who am I?
I was born on January 6, 1995, in Sierra Leone, Africa. At the time, the country was in a civil war. My parents died when I was 4 years old, and I was placed in an orphanage. I was adopted by an American family in 1999. I moved to the United States and started taking dance lessons. In 2010, I won a spot to attend a famous dance school. I am best known for my role starring in the movie First Position and performing on Dancing with the Stars. At 17, I performed with the Dance Theater of Harlem. In 2013, I became a soloist for the Dutch National Ballet. I work with the organization called War Child, bringing hope and love to kids who live in places where there is war. Who am I?
I was born September 8, 1954. I moved to New Orleans, Louisiana when I was 4 years old. Even though segregation ended, it still happened in New Orleans schools. When I got to go in 1st grade, I was picked to go to non-white school. On the first day of school, Federal Marshal came to my house and took me to school. Angry people were protesting outside. I was the only child in my class that year. Most parents took their children out of school, although some people were angry. Many all raised and supported me and my family. I played an important part in any segregation in school. When I got older, I got married and had 4 sons. I won many awards, including the NAACP, Martin Luther King Award, and the Presidential Citizens Medal. I started a foundation to help all school children feel accepted and get a good education. Who am I? I was born on September 10th, 1982 in Kansas City, Missouri. I am the youngest out of 4 children. I took my first ballet class at a Boys and Girls Club in California. In 1998, I won a ballet scholarship and continued to practice and work hard. In 2001, I became one of the youngest dancers promoted to soloist. In 2015, I became the first African American principal ballerina in the American Ballet Theater's 75 years history. I have won many awards and was named Glamorous Woman of the Year. I also received NAACP's highest honor and Spingarn Medal. Who am I?